Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story is going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with commentary editor Conn Carroll. And Conn, the fight is intensifying over the Biden administration's moves on student loan debt. Before we get to the whole fight over the debt cancellation, there's this other kind of related but separate fight over the pause on loan payments that keeps being extended.
Right. So this started under Trump. There was a obviously emergency declared for COVID, and so as part of that emergency, when the pandemic was raging, Trump stopped payments on student loans. And then as we've gotten further away from COVID, first Trump and then Biden has been extending it by little 3-month chunks every other time, and there was a deadline coming up at the end of August, and that officially has been extended through the end of this year. So if you have student loans, you still don't have to pay that back yet.
Do you think they're going to keep extending it after we get past the election, or is it becoming sort of untenable for them to
Well,
do
I
that?
mean, the new direction, the new plan is the Biden permanent $10,000 reduction in what you owe. So that is the new policy. So yeah, eventually the cancellation or not cancellation, the temporary pause for payments for everyone, that will eventually end, yes.
So let's talk about the legal basis that the Biden administration has found for that student debt forgiveness plan.
So this goes back to a law passed after 9/11 called the HEROES Act. The thinking was that if there was a war, some type of emergency, that people who borrowed might be called up for the National Guard, and they would have to serve. And so while they were serving, they wouldn't be able to pay back their student loans. And so this law allowed, in a state of emergency, for the president to change, pause, or even decrease amounts. And so they're using this very narrow loophole to then apply that to this COVID emergency and saying, now, mind you, this is a COVID emergency that Biden has said is over, but he's still using it as a basis to then give $10,000 of student relief debt to pretty much everyone, which is clearly not what this law was intended for.
Right, and so obviously this is something that Republicans have said they plan to fight in court. There is now a lawsuit challenging this move. You are not particularly optimistic, though, about that particular lawsuit.
I'm not. So on the merits of the case, I totally agree that Biden is abusing his authority under the HEROES Act to grant this $10,000 in loan amnesty. The problem is that for any legal case in federal court, the plaintiff needs what's called a standing. They don't want, in order to limit the judicial power, the Constitution limits what courts can do. A plaintiff has to show that they've been harmed some way specifically. And this plaintiff just can't do that. So what they have is they've found a guy in Indiana who, because the IRS considers any income, any debt forgiveness as part of income, under Indiana law, that's considered income that he has to report and has to pay taxes on. And so he's considering those taxes to be a specific harm to him. The problem with that is that the program is voluntary. So he has to opt into it. So since he's opting into it, he'd be opting into the harm. And so that means he's not really harmed since he's choosing to it. And so I don't think they're going to survive the standing portion of this, and they'll get tossed out of court pretty early.
And finally, shifting gears a little bit this week, you were actually a lot, from this topic, but you were highly critical of a book by a left-wing writer named Sophie Lewis, who the entire premise of her book was to argue against the nuclear family. You're writing sort of the exact opposite argument in your book.
Well, the title of her book is Abolish the Family, so it's right up there in your face.
Yeah.
she doesn't hide what she's trying to accomplish. But yes, I'm lucky enough, I signed a book deal, and I'm going to be writing a book called Polygamy Revenge, why monogamy is essential for democracy. And it's going to be quite the opposite, arguing why obviously we need marriage in order for our democracy to survive.
Well, Conn, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
You can get more writing from Conn and the rest of the commentary team, washingtonexaminer.com.